And who is the leader of Mount Kenya Jurists? Who is the leader of Mount Kenya Jurists? Put on the mic. There. Thank you. Yokibe Mungai, you're the chair of the Mount Kenya Jurists.
I'll introduce briefly. The chair is Ndego Wanjiro.
Yes.
Secretary General is Ishmael Guringa. I am a member and one of the legal advisors. We shall speak to the issues that you want to speak. There'll be three of us, starting with...
You have exactly 15 minutes. It's now 1 minute to 5. So by at 5:14, at 5:14, including question time, at 5:14 will be done.
Okay, we start with my colleague Fanya Mambo, followed by Ishmael. Then we shall try to be very quick so that we can cover a lot of the memorandum that we have presented.
Just go straight to the issue. Don't introduce too many issues. Go straight to it.
Thank you very much. This is Fanya Mambo Kinuthia, the organizing secretary, Mount Kenya Jurists. For us, it's very simple. I will tackle only the part on taxation. And because this has been spoken and it has been deliberated very well at this platform, I wish not to belabor, to repeat what the other people have said. But there's one thing that we have come up with as a proposal as Mount Kenya Jurists, saying that out of their 100% salary that every Kenyan gets, 70% is sacred. That no government should touch that 70%. So we want it to become a constitutional provision that you do whatever you're going to do with 30%. Even God, who created the universe, is only asking for 10% from us. It's because he knows there's a limit. And you know, God hasn't changed for thousands of years. He's still taking 10% from the world. Na by that tunapeleka kwa hiari yetu. He's not forcing us. So we are saying that subsequent governments need to be aware that Kenyans are at a point where they feel that 30% is enough. And any administration that is not okay with 30% should leave office for those people who are okay with taking less than 30% taxation from Kenyans. Secondly, on the same issue, you see our constitution provides for freedom from servitude. If you read today's standard, Kenyans have become slaves in their own country because some of them are taking less than 30% of what they worked for. And let me tell you, there is an administration that thinks that every time you want to build anything as a government, that the resource for the building of that thing has to come from the pockets of Kenyans. And Kenyans are telling you that as a mother, if you ask a mother, the mother will tell you buying a tennis ball for my son is more important than building houses for the Kenya Kwanza administration. So Kenyans are at a point in place where they feel that their taxes are sacred. And their salaries are sacred. And 70% of what they make should go to themselves and their families. I do not want to belabor that point any further because it has been spoken and said here by very many people. But for us, it's about setting a ceiling. Beyond this, government cannot go. We are ready to give you your 20%, 25% if you are more generous.
You've done well so far, trust me. The next one.
Chair, I know that this is a committee that is suffering serious time constraints, so I just wish to address our concerns to just two issues. The first issue is on the limitation of boundaries. And in this, we'll only address the issue of what you can call urban constituencies. And a case in point is Uasin Gishu. So what we want to say is that there is an urban population that is always disenfranchised or there is voter dilution. And when you talk of Uasin Gishu, you'll know, or you can call it comfortably, a Pisa county, where the urban population does not have any representation because the way the county boundaries are existing, they deny them of any solid representation. The other thing that I would like to address is the issue of the protected constituencies. This is a fallacy, Because if you look at these units you call constituencies, they exist within a county. And the so-called protected constituencies, especially in the Mount Kenya region, exist in counties which have the liquid population quota to form the number of constituencies that are currently existing. So if there has to be any border delimitation, then the same should be calibrated to accommodate the same number of constituencies, borrow award here, donate award there, and you remain with the same number of constituencies. I believe that this committee comprises of literate people, and we have submitted our memorandum. And let me not lead through and donate the rest of the time to my team members. Thank you.
Chair, we have 5 bullet points for the remaining time in order to do justice to the long memorandum that we have done. The first issue, I think that it is fair, would be to start on the issues of the Jubilee Party. Chair, the reason why we are here as representatives of Mount Kenya Jurists is that we have heard when Azimio was presenting that Jubilee Party have come before this forum. Instead of coming to speak to the issues that is facing Mount Kenya counties, they have come to say how they are being fought and rebellion caused in their people. This issue is absolutely more important than can be imagined from a constitutional perspective. Because for the first time in our country, Kenya's largest community does not have a political party that can be able to speak on its behalf. The last time, during the colonial time, during the mid-1980s, during the era of President Daniel Arap Moi, when the Kikuyu community was disenfranchised economically and politically, you had serious constitutional crises that occurred. And therefore, as our first point, the issue of purely somebody imagining that you can take Jubilee Party as the last voice that can credibly be able to speak for the people of Mount Kenya is going to have very serious repercussions in view of the fact that the discontent, and I believe you come from the area, that is boiling in central Kenya, and there is nobody to give voice to that discontent, will ultimately be dangerous to this country. And it is a reason that earlier on, you may have an attempt that when discontent boils, young people will start to be called Mungiki, and you'll have another round of extrajudicial executions that have occurred previously in this country. That's point one. So it's a damn serious issue, whether we have anybody speaking for us. Issue number 2 is this. The fact that for purposes of having a country, Kenya, when you speak about all these issues that you are talking about, audit of presidential elections and all these other issues, it boils down to one simple issue. And that simple issue is this, that in Kenya we have head of state, commander-in-chief, and head of government. Ultimately, in any country, it is the fidelity of the presidents to the constitutions that avoids this maandamano and ensures the country is being governed competently and to avoid financial collapse that has occurred in Ghana, Sri Lanka, and even Haiti. In saying this, we have this in mind, that if we continue to have the current trajectory, in which, for example, you do an elections in the year on the 9th of August last year. So you are president because of the vote outcome on the 9th of August last year. If on the 9th of August last year, the gazetted elections results was that Azimio Party was a majority, then it is a moment for introspections by the president. On what basis could members have been sponsored to ensure that Kenya Kwanza would get an artificial majority in parliament and to get its own founder member, Honorable Wetangula, declare that that Kenya Kwanza, which was a minority according to the elections, is ultimately the majority in Kenya. it is our submission as Mount Kenya jurist, that if those election results could simply be accepted and respected, it would be possible for this country to be governed on the basis of the actual outcome of the elections. Point number 3, and this is very important for the Mount Kenya people, the issue of resource allocations. The issue of resource allocation, and it touches our heart, that we are yet to see an elected leader from Mount Kenya speaking about this very serious issue. We have had the people dying on queues. We have had the situations where Mount Kenya counties people for bursary are getting 2,000, when other people are educating, and these are personal friends from northern Kenya. People are taking children to colleges in Kenya and even outside on government scholarship. This issue, Madam Chair, must be addressed in 2 perspectives. Perspectives number 1 is that on the issues of counties, and there are some proposals that have been made on how new counties are going to be created. We have, in these proposals, we have 1 county from Mount Kenya. This is Nyambene. If you go by that proposal, that there is only 1 county that is going to come from Mount Kenya, 2 things will happen. We share money in Kenya under the Constitution based on the number of counties that any community have. So we are running the danger that because of an apparent quietness of the elected leaders of Mount Kenya, you will have a situations in which new counties will be created to 60 or whatever number it's going to be, and Mount Kenya will only have Nyambene. So we have made a proposal in our write-up to ensure that there are additional counties created from Mount Kenya. Perspective number 2 is on what we called the difficulty. If you have a situations where in Mount Kenya counties, no new counties are created, under the presidential elections rules, it will not be possible to viably get a presidential candidate from Mount Kenya, because of the simple rules that you must get 25% in half of the counties. And there will also be the additional issue that in the Senate, despite being the largest community, people like Somalis may end up having greater voice than Kenya's largest community before the Senate. So it's a serious issue that needs to be taken. The last 2 points are these. Madam Chair, I have a reputation.
You have 3 minutes.
I will try to do my best, but let me just make these 2 points.
Without questions.
Yes.
3 minutes, and we have not yet sought any
that's the issue.
Questions.
You can avoid the questions.
We don't just... We also seek clarification.
Yes, Chair, but you have discretion. If it is very important, you will ask questions. The 2 other issues that we need to add to this particular issue is the big issue of Article 43. I mentioned that not because we don't have other important things, but because I have in recent past done several petitions arising from Article 43 of the Constitution. Article 43 is on social and economic rights. Under the constitutions of Kenya, the citizens have rights and obligations. One of the most important obligations of citizens is the obligations to pay taxes. But also, the counterpart or the other side of that right is that you have a right to be treated differently from an economic standpoint when you are a citizen of Kenya. Arising currently from the point of view of the people of Mount Kenya, we have seen very serious incidences in which the whole of Kamukunji, the whole of River Road, and the whole of this trading center in central Kenya are dying. Why are they dying? Because the government of the day is increasingly making policies that these so-called hustlers who supported it are making it very difficult for them to live their lives in dignity, to support their businesses, and to be able to engage themselves. And therefore, it will be important, and I offer in this regard, to do even a supplementary memorandum, that certain laws that makes it possible for the Chinese and other foreigners to thrive in Kenya need to be amended so that we can be able to cure the problems that is boiling up in central Kenya that sooner or later youth may be called Mungiki in order to that this problem does not come out. Final point is on what I called the risk, and I wish this committee succeeds. Why? If this committee does not succeed, the chances of this country falling into a very serious constitutional crisis is very high. Haiti could become a joke. Why do I say this? And please listen to me, Chair, for 2 minutes. I said this.
No, Kibe.
I need to explain that I have received a lot of money. Madam,
briefly.
2 minutes, yes.
Just go straight.
I'm going straight to the issue. Those issues that I'm saying there is emerging constitutional crisis, I was paid a lot of money by Kenyan states to be
no, please keep proceed.
Point one.
Proceed.
I was not talking to Aaron. Point one, Chair, is this. There is a legal order that was made in March 2012 to create the current constituencies and wards. That legal order is expiring or lapsing in March 2024. What that means is this, that no other elections can be able to take place in Kenya until you have a new legal order. We do not have IEBC. This is a process that must take 2 years, and under the constitutions, a new legal order must exist 1 year to the elections. Mm-hmm. So the point I am making is that there is no luxury of time, and we are careful. If we are not careful, in Haiti, the crisis patry is there because you did not have a presidential elections for whatever reasons. In Kenya, a legal jam may take you to this crisis.
We've had you. That's a good point.
I have 2 points to finish. On that issue, it's an important issue, Chair. Just two.
But he's just made the point that the committee doesn't have the luxury of time.
Yes, but
that's why, because you understand, I want you to understand one thing. We have 7 other groups behind you who will feel so bad on us that we've kept them.
Senator
and they don't get a chance to ask.
A lot. I am sure that very few constitutional lawyers have spoken before you. Let me just make 2 points. Just 2 points.
This committee treats all Kenyans.
Can I give you 30 seconds, Kibe? 30 seconds.
The second issue.
Yes, 30 seconds, kindly.
Under the High Court judgment, it is required, and this goes to Parliament, it is required that a law be made for purposes of how we delimit locations and sublocations. Parliament has not done this, which is necessary to facilitate constituency boundaries. Final point, therefore, is this, that when we talk about the totality, Chair Lady, of all these problems that we are talking about the economy, so many countries, we keep talking about state failure. From a constitutional point of view, state failures can be triggered by economic factors, and it can be triggered by political factors. These factors, the circumstances that will conspire to create them are already in existence in Kenya. They require competent leadership that is consultative of all Kenyans, that in the fullness of time, if it comes to biting the bullet and a government of national unity is necessary, we may have to go that route to prevent state failure or collapse in this good Republic of Kenya. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think now I'll seek clarifications, questions.
Just one.
Yes, Wandai.
Mr. Akili Kibe.
Yes.
Yeah, I hear you. And you make the case that as we speak, the Agikuyu people have got no political party that they could call their home. Is it that Jubilee Party is the party that was recognized as the home of the Gikuyu? That is one. 2, you have claimed that the elected leadership of the Gikuyu community are not speaking for their people. Okay, and therefore there's likely to be a problem in the coming days, months, or whatever. Why, in your opinion, would elected leaders of the region not speak for their people. And especially taking into consideration the fact that the second highest elected of person in the ruling Kenya Kwanza government comes from the Gikuyu community.
Okay, Senator Aaron.
You can go first.
Yeah, I just want to say this. And here I won't talk about Kikuyus, I'll talk about Gema. Is very well represented in the UDA party. They left en masse from a political party that was supposed to be their home and chose, rightfully so, to go to a party that they felt gave them a chance to be well represented. And let me put it here on record that the elected leaders in the Gema community within the Kenya Kwanza government and the UDA party are representing their electorate accordingly and raising concerns of their people. Gema people never keep quiet when things are not going well. They never keep quiet when their people have issues, and we've done so very well. Kibe, maybe you've not seen us in the streets, but we have a platform within government to raise our concerns, and we do that very, very ably. So please, don't make us look like we are in a comfort zone. We are working very, very hard for our people. The very reasons that made us leave Jubilee are the reasons we are now working very hard for our people.
Chair, I just have two clarifications that I'd wish. Is it your submission that we need to, and I listened to you, I think previously there was a group led by Wakili Ndegwa, on this position of Speaker of the National Assembly. Is it your assertion that we need to further add the qualifications for a Speaker of either the National Assembly or the Senate to limit their participation in politics? Because you appear to be faulting Speaker Moses Wetangula that he was a speaker, he was a member of Kenya Kwanza, and then he became speaker, and you seem to find fault. Yet on all other criteria of what it takes to be elected as Speaker of Parliament, he ticks. So is it your submission then that this committee should perhaps consider limiting members who can be Speakers of Parliament to only those who haven't participated in any political activities in the run-up to the election? Question one. Question two, last one, because really in the interest of time, is to the gentleman seated to your right, Wakili.
Yes.
Have you taken time to perhaps either read or do a study on Kenya's tax to GDP ratio and how it compares to other economies or comparable jurisdictions economy-wise? How do we fare? Are we way above, below, same? Just a comment from you on that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. To start off, Chair. Yes.
Kibe, Wakili, 2 minutes. Try and just respond to those issues in 2 minutes. I know you can.
Yes. On the question of Honorable Wandai, the issues of Jubilee, numbers don't lie. A bigger portion, according to the declared figures, were in UDA, in Gema country. The other people, which includes myself, about 30% of the Gema people were also in Azimio. That minority, if today, where the majority went, they are no longer getting economic justice for our people, it becomes the obligations of that minority to be able to speak for our people. That minority is represented by Jubilee. And therefore, if one wanted to ensure that a certain community cannot speak for itself, it would ensure I have the majority, now I kill the minority. So it's an existential issue for the people of that region. On the issues of leadership, why have the elected leadership, they are not speaking for the people, led by Rigiji? I believe the Deputy President, whom I respect a lot, every time that opportunity has come, including the President going to Sagana and elsewhere in central Kenya, the newspapers themselves say that he was telling people, let us keep quiet, let us not raise hula baloo for the president, that is our government. Before here, unless the newspaper and the media are not stating everything, we are yet to see where Kenya is being discussed, and I challenge them. Apart from memorandum like this, which memorandum we can be shown that elected leaders have presented and said, these are the concerns of the Gema people. I have not seen it. I challenge anyone with it to lend me a copy. I represent Governor Marile, and she knows we have a long history. But on this, I wish, and we only hear Governor Marile for only one reason. I would have been very happy to be in the office doing my normal legal work. But the same people who have seen a lot of us on national television speak about community issue, when they were faced with the reality that our elected leaders are not going to present our issues when Kenya is being discussed, it was a collective wisdom of the local population. Go and say something about the problems that we are facing. So I wish you to do as much as you can now that you are co-chair, but as of now, our issues are not on the table. Aaron Cheruyot, Senator, he asked about the issues of Wetangula. Let me start by saying that I am involved in a case where his own election is being challenged. But I'll only discuss one issue because you've asked whether there is need for legal amendments. There is no need for legal amendments. My friend Hassan Omar is aware that as Speaker of the National Assembly, and even the standing order says that, the most important duty is that of impartiality. And impartiality means that it's a matter of substance and positions you have held that you can be able to be a fair arbiter of the proceedings that are there. It is our belief that as of now, and this is the last point, Speaker Wetangula has conducted himself in a manner by his rulings and decisions that impeaches his credibility and impartiality. And
thank you. I think we come to the end of this session for the team.
A question for me, 30 seconds, I can be able to respond.
Yes, yes.
Honorable Senator, you come from a region of marathoners. If they were to compare themselves with others, Kenya would never win any gold marathon. We are setting the standard as the first nation in the world to say that we have a limit as to how deep you can go into our pockets. Our salary is sacred. We do not want to get to a point where government is taking more than what we are earning. Because we said it very clearly on TV then, they can take their salaries, we take the taxes, if that's better. Secondly, I'd like to say this. The countries that they want us to compare ourselves with, there is something about ease of earning. That in those countries, like for example, if you moved to the US today and you started cleaning rooms, you are certain that you can get an equivalent of, for example, 10,000 shillings every day. It is consistent, it is there, you just need to wake up and you will make it tomorrow as long as you work. In this country, the biggest job that people do in industrial area is looking for work, not actually working. Finally, on the same, there's something called black tax that is most of the times found in our African countries. And black tax means, like, if I'm a firstborn, there's a very high chance I'm going to educate all the other siblings who follow me. In those countries we want to compare ourselves with, their governments are so responsible, they have taken care of their people so well that there is no this other black tax. Because even if we pay this 30%, if we give you the 30% we are saying, still, in my cup of tea, you reach for the water, you reach for the tea leaves, you reach for the milk, you reach for every taxable thing in my cup of tea. By the time I'm done with that cup of tea, it was a cup of taxes. So not only are we paying 70%, but not only are we paying more than 30% in taxation, the little that we are left with, government is still reaching for it through fuel and other means. By the time you go home, you have nothing left.
Thank you. Senator Aaron, you want to say something?
No, just briefly to ask Wakili to take time to read about tax to GDP ratio, because that is not what I asked you about.
I can answer you.
No,
I actually want to end this conversation. Kindly. Thank you.
I doubt that you can.
Oh, I can.
Thank you.
That you can.
Thank you. Another time, you can have a cup of tea. You can have a cup of tea on that conversation. I now seek to have the next online. And we have civil society reference group.
That's CPF.
Next.